So I'm just getting there from the golf course. I had a great day, great ball striking. Off the tee, I was great. I think I only missed like 2 fairways. I'm gonna elaborate in this video on what I talked about in the video previously to this labeled Insanity. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to try and help your game. Today's video, I'm going to elaborate on the video prior to this one that I called Insanity, and it's basically to change your golf swing, change your mind. Also, I just got a delivery in today. This is going to be upcoming in a video pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. I wonder what this could be. So stay tuned, stick around, and we'll tell you all about that in an upcoming video. But today, all right, so you have to bear with me. I've got an article pulled up on my phone, and I've also got some notes that I made on a card here so that I didn't forget anything. And I don't know that this will be extremely clear, but I'm going to do my best to try and make it clear. But essentially, what I'm talking about is muscle memory. Does it exist? Is there really such a thing as muscle memory? So this article that I have pulled up is from Oxford University, and it's called The Amazing Phenomenon of Muscle Memory, the changes in the brain that allow you to learn new skills. And I don't want to get too long-winded here, but basically the article starts out, what is muscle memory? Even the simplest everyday actions involve a complex sequence of tensing and relaxing many different muscles. For most of these actions, we have had repeated practice over our lifetime, meaning that these actions can be performed faster, more smoothly, and more accurately. Over time, with continual practice, actions as complicated as riding a bike, knitting, or even playing a tune on a musical instrument can be performed almost automatically without thought. Now, I thought that was interesting because some of the things in this that he gives as examples, riding a bike, knitting, and playing a tune on a musical instrument. Well, a lot of us are not skilled with a musical instrument. Maybe we played, an instrument when we were in school, or we were in the band, or, some of us are musically gifted, but not all of us are. I think that is it takes a pretty talented individual to play a musical instrument pretty well. So I would definitely say that most of us would agree that is a complicated action. Knitting. Now, I've watched my grandmother knit and crochet. I've watched my wife knit and crochet. I can tell you I've tried it, and it is definitely a complicated action. But for people who knit all the time, knitting is sort of like brushing your teeth or putting on clothes. It's a really simple thing, but they've had lots of practice with it. Now, we can all basically relate to riding a bike. In a very short time, in an afternoon in a driveway, you can learn to ride a bike. And after you've done it, after you've been on a bike, there's really not much thought. There's not much thought as far as internal, what you're thinking about, what your body's doing. You're not thinking about, pushing the right foot down and the left foot down after you have sort of become acquainted with that action, with the right foot and then the left foot, and then the right foot and then the left foot, and the act of actually steering and leaning into turns and keeping your body and the bicycle balanced. It takes a little bit of a conscious effort in the beginning. But in a very short time, all the conscious mind goes away, and you just think about the direction you want to go, the speed you want to go, what turn you want to make, and then the subconscious mind takes over. It becomes this instinctive act. So if you are a beginning golfer, or you're trying to just reinvent the wheel, and you're trying to completely make over your entire swing, essentially becoming a beginner again, then yes, there is going to be a time in the beginning where you are going to have to make those conscious efforts to get into some sort of a decent position with the elbow leading, or the hips opening, or the shoulders staying closed. But after you've developed those, after you have sort of those feels on how to make the club travel from inside to out on that path, and how to get a shallower path, and how to have a rhythmic, smooth swing rather than a jerky, fast, effort-filled swing, once you've developed sort of the feel for that and you have the basic skill, you need to be able to perform it consistently. Well, the problem lies in that if we try to make the same exact body motions at the same exact time in the same exact place, we try to recreate internally what we felt, that will actually lead to a lack of consistency. Then when it comes to our bodies being able to do what it needs to do through the subconscious rather than the conscious mind, your body needs to be adaptive, because you're never going to be in the same lie twice. You might have similar lies, but they are slightly different. You might have similar slopes that your body is pitched back and forth on. You might have a little bit of uneven ground. You might need to get this one a little higher. Maybe there's a little wind coming in from the right. Maybe it's coming in from the left. Maybe it's back behind you. Maybe this is a 7-iron instead of a driver. Maybe this is a 5-wood instead of a wedge. So all of these different things, you need to be able to have a mental focus that's consistent, but your body needs to be adaptive, because what we're talking about is a club whirling around in space around us, sometimes behind our heads where we can't even see the club head, traveling at a high rate of speed, and it's got to strike the center of the golf ball with the center of the golf club to within probably a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch accuracy. And something like that, if you're trying to play position-based golf, you could feel like you did the exact same thing and hit it in 84 different places on the club face each and every time. So the only part of our brains that can handle something like that is the subconscious part of our brain. Our conscious minds just can't process and micromanage that information and feedback with the nervous system, the lymphatic system, all of our muscles, joints, and nerve endings. It can't process it fast enough. It can't do it. It has to be through the subconscious. I wrote some more messages here and some little notes on my card. Let me read a few of these. We can consistently apply intent, but we can't move our bodies to a highly specific degree consistently, even if we feel like we're doing the same thing. This next line is what I've really been working on. This is a moment of clarity for me that's helped me out tremendously in the last couple of months, and it's such a simple thought. Real practice is in the mind. So what I've been practicing is visualizing the stripe of the club or the blur of the club in the right spot, along the right path, down my intermediate line toward the target where I want the golf ball to start, and imagining where the low point is going to be if I make a swing. So if I can consistently picture that and I can maintain focus on that without distraction, no distractions as to like, oh, my arm, I feel like, or ooh, my hips are a little bit ahead. If I get distracted even just the slightest bit, it's disastrous. No go, no good. But I find that if I maintain that clarity, that focus, and I can imagine and see that stripe of where I want the club to pass the entire time, unbroken, uninfluenced, and unabated, it turns out to be a good shot more often than not. All right, here's another paragraph from this article. We often talk about these skills as being held in muscle memory, but this term is really a bit of a misnomer. Although certain skills like cycling or perfecting a tennis serve, all of which can be related to a golf swing, right, might require the strengthening of certain muscles, the processes that are important for learning and memory of new skills occur mainly in the brain, not in the muscles. Changes that occur in the brain during skill learning and memory alter the information that the brain sends out to the muscles, thereby changing the movements that are produced. So essentially what I started thinking about is that, your brain is basically just this large lump of mush. It's almost like, your grandma's Jell-O mold. It's just sitting up there around your brain. It's gelatinous. But what you have as thoughts, or what you perceive, or what you feel, or what you think about, those are all just electrical synapses, almost like a little electrical currents that are going between certain lobes and certain parts of the brain, little connections, if you want to think about like the old-time telephone operators that had to take one wire out here and plug it into the switchboard to make different connections in different places. Well, if you left those wires in the same place and there was no operator, the last call you made would be the only call you could continually make. You would continually be connected to that line. In order to get to a new conversation, you have to unplug it from there, plug it in over here, and make new connections. So essentially, you're trying to change the synapse patterns in your brain in order to make them manifest physically in the outside world. So you have to make a change internally here before you can make a change that is manifested externally out here. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and just read this. You can go read the article for yourself. I gave you the title and told you what site it was on. But essentially, there is no such thing as muscle memory as in a literal definition. Your memory, your muscles don't have memory. I read somewhere that octopus or octopi, plural, octopi actually have some form of memory in their muscles. So they actually have muscle memory. We do not. Our brains are nowhere in our bodies. Our brains are right up here. But if your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are constantly jockeying for control over who's going to run the golf swing, it's going to be a nightmare. It's never going to work out. So in the beginning, when you're first learning golf, or if you're trying to learn something new in golf, you're trying to retrain your body, there is, of course, that period where you need to develop some sort of familiarity to those new movements and see how they feel. Try them on for size. And when your physical body is sending back feedback through your nervous system to your brain, it will store that and it will say, oh yeah, I remember this. This is when the club was shallowing out. This is when the club was moving from the inside to the outside. This is when it was moving at a high rate of speed. You will remember that stuff. However, when it comes time to perform the action, when it comes time to, you've already got that in and now it's time to put it into practice, you've kind of ingrained a little bit of those physical movements and you've got your basic swing down. In order to perform your best, you've got to take that conscious stuff and keep it distracted so that your subconscious mind, the programs running in the back of your brain that are much more capable of creating just incredibly wondrous movements like gymnastics floor routines in the Olympics or a perfectly executed golf swing, those incredibly complex orchestration of movements and body parts and timing and space and all of these things. You've got to get your conscious mind occupied, because if it goes in and tries to micromanage what the subconscious does so well, it's going to frustrate the situation and you will not be able to perform correctly. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all watching today. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Just stick around with the channel. Everything I do kind of builds on itself. Leave me a like down below if you haven't done so already, and I love the comments. Give me some comments, unless you're going to tell me, you know, that I'm hideous and my mom should have never had me. But anyway, be on the lookout for this. I'm going to unbox this. One of my viewers actually suggested this to me. I ordered it from Amazon right away. And anything you want to order from Amazon, be sure to click down below, click the link, my Amazon link. It'll take you to your Amazon page, and any orders for anything that you make on Amazon will help this channel out at no extra cost and no obligation whatsoever to you. Stay on the lookout for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.